Welcome. In this episode of the channel, Mystery Yonder, we will talk about a very popular legend on the web, among young people and not only. We will talk about the Wendigo, the cannibal nightmare spirit of the native tribe of North America, an evil creature with large claws in a skeletal body, with small lips unable to mask the huge and sharp teeth which he uses to tear its victims to pieces. Wendigo, the Native American nightmare. The legend of the Wendigo was born many centuries ago from the native tribes of North America, more precisely, the Algonquin tribes. Originating in the cold areas on the border between Canada and the United States, near the area of the Great Lakes where winter is very cold and hard for the population. The name Wendigo originates from the word owl or cannibal. The various Native American dialects give one meaning or another to the word Wendigo. The same name varies from tribe to tribe. Some call it Wendigo, or Wendigo, Witico. The variants are more than 30, but the monster is always the same. Even if today it is only partially known in Europe, the Wendigo was soon associated following the colonization of the North American continent with the figures of the werewolf and the yeti, already present in the popular culture of the old continent. The terrifying creature would be tall, about 3 meters. Its skin is very thin and gray, like that of a corpse, because despite its height, the monster is very thin, as if he were undernourished. Skin and bones, no muscles, small lips compared to the huge fangs he has instead of the teeth. Huge feet with long claws, small eyes that give the impression that it is eyeless. Very often the Wendigo is pictured with large deer antlers, and in addition to being described as a man-eater, he is also known as very fast creature. In recent years, the figure of the Wendigo has returned to be famous thanks to its use in cinema and TV series, but above all thanks to its terrifying legend. The Wendigo is used in the TV series Supernatural, where brothers Dean and Sam Winchester must kill a Wendigo that captures people in the forest where he lives. In the series Charmed, the Prue sisters have to face a Wendigo that infects Piper. Still in the television series Grimm, in one of the episodes the protagonist Nick faces a Wendigo. In the 1995 movie, Frostbiter. In 1999 in the movie, Ravenous. Again in 2001 with the horror movie named Wendigo. The Wendigo has been used a lot in comics, making one of his most important appearances with Marvel Comics, which, based on the legend, has a character named Wendigo, with the features of a large monster, endowed of strength and speed, that feeds only of human flesh, and he is a historical opponent of Hulk and Wolverine. It appears in the comic series Tex Willer, taking possession of the body of one of the characters, and he does not miss even the youngest spectators, being mentioned in the stories of Uncle Scrooge, and even in My Little Pony.
What is that thing? They must be Wendigos. Wendigos?
Obviously, with the progress of video games, the figure of the North American monster was exploited by making his appearance in some of those, such as Blood Omen and Legacy of Kain, where he appears as an enemy of the cold places such as the Oracle's Cave, or near the Vermogent Forest. Wendigo is the name given to some enemy in Final Fantasy V, 8 and 10. A humanoid demon capable of provoke blizzards. However, he is not always pictured with the features of the legend, but instead represented with a shape closer to that one of the Yeti. The Digimon, Wendigoman, is based on the Wendigo. The creature is in the video game Werewolf the Apocalypse and also on one of the latest video games on the market named Folklore Hunter. There are many variations in the details of the legend of the Wendigo. And this is because it was tradition for the tribes of North America to pass the legends only in oral form, from one village chief to the next. But in some detail all the tribes are agree. Between the snows, cold temperatures and little quantity of food, the legend of the Wendigo was born. A story originally created as a deterrent to remove the idea of cannibalism among the populations, but above all to reinforce the values of solidarity among the members of the tribe in order to share resources and food, especially when these are lacking. In addition, the legend served as a motivation for members of the tribe to commit themselves as much as possible to the accumulation of the goods and food in order to face the long and cold winter. The origin of Wendigo was born precisely in the name of selfishness. The ancient legend tells of a solitary and miserly hunter, who for his selfishness was sent away by the shaman of his tribe, and therefore, in order to survive, had begun to feed of human flesh of people who died in the forest. As his need to feed became greater and greater, he turned into a hunter of men that he then fed on. He became an implacable predator by day and invincible by night, with the constant need for human flesh and the need to become stronger and stronger thanks to the power that meat provided him. The legend said that the Wendigo is an always hungry monster. His cannibalism stems from cruelty and the need to acquire more and more power, as was the belief of many populations, that thinking that by feeding on a part of a man's body they could acquire its virtues, strength and power. But tribes speak about him, not as a spirit, but as a creature who has undergone a transformation. Many say that to become a Wendigo, a person must be bitten by the monster. For others, it is possible to become a Wendigo if the spirit of a Wendigo possesses the person during sleep. A person can be transformed into a Wendigo if the man or woman have been cursed by a shaman or by committing acts of cannibalism. For others it is possible to become a Wendigo if a person dreams of it during the night, or committing sin of avarice preferring the own wellness to that of the community. In popular culture, the Wendigo has long deer antlers, while the thin body is covered with white hair. In the North American climate makes the Wendigo a monster of ice and living flesh. Surely all tribes agree that the Wendigo is a creature with an ice heart. The Wendigo for the legend is an immortal monster, very strong, stronger than any man and certainly faster. He has superhuman speed. He is so fast that his feet can become red hot while running. And these powers increase as the number of his victims increases. It is therefore impossible to escape if chased by a Wendigo, and even more difficult to survive to its attack. It seems he enjoys chasing his victims by terrorizing them before grabbing and take these poor people to his lair, and then eating them alive. The Wendigo, before becoming a monster, was a human in its previous life, and is capable of imitating every human voice and all the sounds of the forest, including other animal species, in order to attract its victims. As the son of the cold and because of its intimacy with the ice which are part of its body, the Wendigo is able to freeze rivers and lakes as its passage and to put out the fires lit in tribal camps. However, this power creates an advantage for men who are therefore able to notice the presence and approach of the Wendigo close to attack. Signs, usually accompanied by a strong malodor that saturates the air. But how do you kill a Wendigo? Even if, as mentioned, it is immortal, so it could live forever if not defeated. The legend says that there is a way to kill it, even if it is very difficult. It would be necessary to follow a magical ritual that includes capturing it, using fire, and then hit the Wendigo at its only weak point. What made the Wendigo weak is what he fears most: the fire. But to kill him, the only way is to pierce his heart of ice. Once a Wendigo has been dismembered, it is possible to realize that in addition to being made up of ice blocks, inside its heart, in its soul, there is the person it was before turning into the cannibal monster. Since the heart is its vital point, the human enclosed into the Wendigo dies, and this is what can cause a Wendigo to die. The problem is to approach the creature and capture it. In the far North America, in remote regions, legend aside, the Wendigo is a constant presence and fear. The fear of the harsh winter and little amount of food, which provide a hard challenge. From this fear born the legend of the Wendigo. The legend of the Wendigo has created a phobia in the tribes, that one of becoming cannibal and turning into the monster that terrifies the Native Americans. Actually, the creature lends its name to this phobia or psychopathological disorder, called Wendigo psychosis, described as a cultural syndrome with symptoms such as intense desire for human flesh and fear of becoming a cannibal. That fear of becoming cannibals with the arrival of winter, with the hard cold temperatures which forces everyone to stay at home and to have more and more desire for food and meat. With the fear of being forced to eating anything, including human flesh. This phobia is still present today in the culture of those tribes, which appeal to shamans so that rituals can be made for the protection and for the removal of any insane temptation. The last ritual done by shamans dates back to 1997 and was performed in Minnesota. The icona of the Wendigo is still present in modern culture today. What is known for sure is that the legend of the Wendigo certainly did some victim. The victims were those members of the tribes who were suspected of being a Wendigo and for that killed. In 1897, the phenomenon forced the governors of the Canadian region to issue specific laws to prevent the killing of individuals mistakenly pointed as Wendigo. Somehow the legend continues to be popular because it tells of some main values that every human should have. Do not kill each other. Do not be avaricious, share with others. Do not put the individual needs above those of the community. And definitely don't eat human flesh. Legends, superstitions, popular beliefs, myths. We don't know exactly what is the true in all this story, but if for hundreds of years, the Wendigo continues to terrorize and exist in the collective imagination of those tribes, and not only. Perhaps something true, there is. And we came to the conclusion of this video. I guess each of you has your own idea. Leave it in a comment and tell me, is the legend real? Give a like and subscribe to the channel, Mystery Yomba. Other videos are coming soon. Don't forget to share these fascinating stories with friends. See you at the next mystery.